all night long. Fancy helping some faces, young and old, to warm the hearts when it's snowing and it's cold. You're gonna have to find a crew, it can't be anyone. They'll have to be there by your side and do what must be done. So go, man, you know that you have it night through day. The pain you feel it to bring it on with the Archie County Band. Doubts come and some may never die. So I'll ask myself, should I stop before I try? No way, man, mistake, it has been said. I'm all in, so there's nothing I'll regret. But time is ticking and there's so much that's going through my mind. Will I make it? Yes, I will. Our spirits are entwined. So let's get this show on the road. I'm here, I'll stay and I'll carry the load to bring it on with the Archie County Band. But hold on a second now, I'm starting to feel the strain. Was it a bicycle? What is wrong with my brain? Is it the end of me? No, I must still believe. So I'm still in love, you see. Heck yeah, now I'm on my way. But let's stay focused, there's still a job in hand that we must do. Cameras start to click, we know what creating something new. So go, Marty and Sarah and Mark and Matt, Owen, Smitty, McGrilly and Jamie and Lane in the Archie County Band. The Archie County Band. The Archie County Band. The Archie County Band. Good afternoon, folks. You are very welcome to Bandido Talks. We are back for our final show of the week. I love these shows. These shows where I have a beef with something. These are some of my favourite shows. And the Bandido has another beef that he needs to air. He needs to do a specific episode on his beef with dog owners. This is going to actually be a really interesting show because here's the thing, folks. I don't hate dog owners. I don't hate dogs. But I do have a beef with a specific type of dog owner. Maybe I should have been more specific in the thumbnail and with the title of the episode. It's not all dog owners. I don't want to tarnish you all with the same brush. It's just some of you really piss me off. And for you folks who are going to maybe have a beef with me after the episode, tough, because it's my show and I'm allowed to air whatever beef I feel like airing. Because you know what, folks? The Bandido has had a few specific run-ins with different owners of dogs and their dogs themselves. And here's the thing. I don't blame the dogs. It's never the fault of the dog. Whenever I've had, and to be fair, folks, I actually have had probably at least 5 significant run-ins with different owners and dogs over the last 5 years. I would say significant. I've had a few more, but they weren't that big of a deal. But I've had 5, I would say 5 run-ins that have been fairly serious. And it always happens with the same type of dog owner. You know that dog owner that says, "It won't touch you. Don't worry, it won't touch you." And it's snarling at me at my ankles, burying its teeth, and it's lurching or sort of launching itself at me. It won't touch you. And it's burying its teeth and getting super aggressive. But it won't touch you. It lurches forward. When I'm sort of looking at the owner. And I have a few choice words, of course, for the owner. Because it's not really the dog's fault. And this is what we're going to talk about throughout the show. It isn't the dog's fault. It is the owner's fault. And of course, a disclaimer at the beginning of the show. I'm not an expert in dog behavior. The Bandido is just a regular citizen. He is no expert. Please bear that in mind as we go throughout the analysis. So if you're getting really pissed off, just remember, I'm not an expert. I'm just a citizen with some experience. That's it. So cool your jets, dog owners who are going to get pissed off. It's nothing personal, folks. Because there are lessons. This is why I bring up this topic. It seems sort of like a light-hearted topic. And in a sense it is, to a degree. It's not a big serious news story. But there are actually good lessons to extract from this. We are hopefully going to learn something about if we are the owner of a dog or we're thinking about getting a dog. There are some important things that we want to bear in mind as dog owners. I don't own a dog. But if I did own a dog, I would be implementing some of these things that we are going to go through in this episode. Of course, I'm not an expert. So don't take my word for it. It's just my experience. So it's going to be a really good show, folks. But before we get into it, I'm going to remind you to like the live stream if you like what you're hearing. Give it a thumbs down if you're pissed off. And of course, if you are joining us live, get into the live chat. Let me know what your thoughts are as we go throughout the show. Leave your insights, leave your comments. We will get to all of those live chats at the end of the show. Of course as well, folks, if you are watching this live stream after the live event has concluded, get down into the comments section,
Let me know what you think down there about everything that we will talk about in our show this afternoon. And then finally, if you like what we do in general here at Bandido Talks, if you find it insightful, interesting, useful, or valuable in some way, then feel free to subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. We are live, folks, every Monday through to Thursday here on YouTube at 4 p.m. Irish time. And if that's not enough for you, we are also live over on Rumble. Now check out the scrolling black banner below. You will be able to find all of the necessary details to direct yourself over to Rumble. The Bandido does a live show over on Rumble Monday to Thursday at 6 p.m. Irish time. So whenever we finish here on YouTube, the Bandido heads over to Rumble and he does his live show over on Rumble as well. So if you want more live content beyond what we do here on YouTube, head over to Rumble, check out the banner below, you will find all the details, subscribe to Bandido Talks over on Rumble, subscribe to Bandido Talks here on YouTube. Lots of live content, folks, lots of lessons to be learned from events in the world, people in the world, news stories, dog owners, certain dog owners. So anyway, subscribe to Bandido Talks on YouTube, on Rumble. You will be notified of all of this content that is coming your direction, live content and other content as well, to keep you entertained and informed. So anyway, with all of that out of the road, folks, let us get into this afternoon's show. Dog owners. Okay. So as I said in our little introduction, the Bandido has had a few run-ins. At least 5 over the last 5 years, with dogs and their owners. Now, I'm going to try and lay this all out so that my position is clear and so that we can actually learn something here. As I said, I don't have a global problem with dog owners. It's not that I hate dog owners, it's not that I hate dogs. Not at all. But as I said, there's a specific type of dog owner that I dislike. And for me, I'm going to break dog owners into 2 categories. Now, I don't know if this terminology is correct. I'm making it up because I think it gets the point across. So I'm going to say there are 2 categories of dog owners. Over here, we have alpha dog owners. And over here, we have beta dog owners. The dog owners that I have a beef with are the beta dog owners. Alpha dog owners, I have no problem with at all. In fact, I highly respect those individuals. And I'm going to explain why throughout the show. But keep these categories in mind. Alpha dog owners, beta dog owners. My beef lies with the beta dog owners. So let's try and lay this out and see if we can learn something here. So what I'm going to do is, as I've said, I'm not an expert in dog behavior. I know a little bit. Enough to do a live show on it. Enough to give my opinion. To try and learn something. So here's the thing with dogs. Dogs are pack animals. What does that mean? When you are a pack animal, you arrange yourself in what we are going to call a dominance hierarchy. Okay? So there's a dominance hierarchy, meaning some of the dogs in the pack are at the bottom of the dominance hierarchy, some are in the middle, some are at the top. Now, what do we call the dog at the top of the dominance hierarchy in a pack? We call it the alpha. Now this is really important to realize. So dog psychology is pack psychology. That is how dogs think. Their psychology is not human psychology. This is why I get pissed off at dog owners who say, "He won't touch you." They have no idea, a lot of dog owners, the type of animal that they actually have on their hands and the nature of the psychology of that animal. Dogs have psychology. They have pack psychology. Meaning, as I've said, they arrange themselves naturally, instinctively, into a dominance hierarchy within the pack. And at the top of the pack, we have the alpha. And whatever alpha says goes. Alpha is at the top of that pack, at the top of the hierarchy. Think of him like the CEO of a company. Whatever the CEO says, he's the boss. The buck stops with the CEO. So think of the alpha dog like the CEO. He runs the pack, just like the CEO runs the company. And all these dogs that fall in underneath the alpha or the pack leader, they essentially, when it comes down to it, are at the mercy of the orders of the alpha. This is extremely important to realize if you are a dog owner. You must understand that your dog does not have human psychology. Its mind and neuron network is not arranged in the same way in which a human's mind or neuron network is arranged. You have to understand this. Dogs have a pack psychology. That's the first thing. Now, why is it important to realize this if you are a dog owner? Let me tell you why this is important to understand. When you have a dog, from the perspective of your dog, when you welcome a dog into your life or your family, the dog's mind wants to find its place within the hierarchy of your life because dogs have pack psychology. So when you bring a dog into your life with dog psychology, the dog is trying to figure out where does it sit in the hierarchy of your existence. Is it above you? Is it below you? Where does it sit relative to your wife, to your children, to your friends? Your dog is trying to figure out where it stands in the pack. Now, this is important to realize for the following reason. There are a whole bunch of people who have dogs, and they do not realize, through their ignorance, they do not realize that their dog is trying to find its place within the hierarchy of that person's life. And here's what happens with a whole bunch of dog owners. The dog owners unknowingly will allow their dog to leapfrog them in the pack and actually take a position above them in the dominance hierarchy. So from the dog's perspective, because of the way the owner deals with the dog ends up oftentimes leapfrogging the owner in the hierarchy, and the dog assumes the role of alpha. This is a problem. If you have a dog that thinks it is the alpha and that it is the pack leader and it is at the top of the dominance hierarchy, when you try to give alpha an order, alpha is not going to listen to you because alpha thinks that it is the leader of the pack. And so when the Bandido's out for his walk in the park and alpha starts to chase after the Bandido, and the dog owner says, "It's all right, he won't do anything, he won't touch you," the owner is an idiot. Because the owner doesn't realize that through their interactions with their own dog, the dog has assumed the role of alpha in their relationship. And so when the owner gives orders to alpha, what happens? Alpha doesn't listen to the owner, and the alpha starts to attack the Bandido. Why? Why does it start to attack the Bandido? Because from the perspective of the dog has assumed the role of alpha. And so if the dog thinks it's alpha, it is going to be protective of its own pack. It's going to try and protect the members of its pack, including you, the owner. And so what does it do? When the dog, which is now alpha, perceives a threat to some member of the pack, which is you, who now sits below the dog in the dominance hierarchy, from the perspective of the dog, what is the alpha dog now going to do? It's going to protect the pack. And that involves attacking the Bandido. Even though the Bandido has done nothing wrong. The Bandido's just out for his walk, minding his own business. But the dog perceives a threat. And because the owner has established an absolute nonsense relationship with the dog. In other words, when I say a nonsense relationship, what I mean is the owner has allowed the dog to leapfrog the owner in the relationship and in the pack. So the dog thinks it's alpha. And what happens, folks, when you are alpha? You don't take orders from people who are below you. And this is then the problem that I have. And these dog owners that allow their dogs to leapfrog them in the dominance hierarchy, in the pack, in their own relationship, those dog owners are what I call beta dog owners. Betas. That's why I call them betas. Because they have allowed the dog to assume the alpha role in the relationship. And this is such a problem, folks, especially when we bring into the equation the breed of the dog. If the dog is naturally aggressive, a pit bull, a German shepherd, a Rottweiler, and I'm not saying these are bad dogs, but they are just naturally more aggressive. They are more dominance climbing or hierarchy ascending dogs. They are pursuing the role of alpha. That's in their biology. Certain other dogs they don't have the propensity to seek the alpha role. They are more chill, they are more calm, they are more relaxed. But certain dogs, which have a bit more aggression and a greater propensity to climb the dominance hierarchy in the pack, German shepherds, pit bulls, Rottweilers, all of these kinds of dogs, if we then bring in the breed and we add a bit of aggression into the mix here and a natural propensity to climb the hierarchy in the pack, now we have a problem. Because now we have not only an aggressive dog, naturally more aggressive, more robust kind of behavior, but that dog thinks it's alpha. So it's going to assume the role of protecting the owner. And the owner, as a result, has no influence over alpha. Beta dog owners are idiots, retards. They shouldn't have a dog. They shouldn't be allowed to have a dog. Honestly, not out in public anyway. Fuck them. They can have a dog in their own house. I don't give a shit then. They shouldn't be allowed to have a dog out in public because they are so retarded. And again, I don't want to pick on genders here, but it's normally women. Women who cuddle the dog. Oh, it's my wee Rocky. My wee Rocky. Let me kiss it. And the idiot, female or woman. And again, I don't want to be unfairly harsh on a particular gender, but women in general, they are pushovers relative to men. And normally, when I have a problem with a dog, it's always a female owner. Always. The female owner allows the dog to walk all over it. She's not walking the dog is walking her. And then, when the dog perceives a threat, like the Bandido with his red bandana, the dog goes into protection mode. It wants to protect the pack, protect the owner, because the dog, due to this absolutely foolish relationship that's been established between the owner and the The dog now sees me as a threat, wants to protect the owner, and the owner has no influence over the dog because from the dog's perspective, it is alpha. And alpha doesn't take orders. Alpha is the pack leader. And so women, they are the biggest culprits because they mollycoddle the dog. They give it a bath. And they let the dog sleep in their bed. They break all of the rules when it comes to a pack animal. You shouldn't do this, folks. You're putting other people at risk because you are creating this dynamic between you and your dog whereby you are allowing the dog to assume the role of alpha by letting it sleep in your bed, by letting it walk all over you, by establishing this dynamic in the pack. It's literally a hazard to other people. And then when you are out in the park and you've got no lead on your dog, the dog thinks it's the boss. I know you, dipshit, you think you're the boss. You're not. Because you don't understand dog psychology. And you don't know a damn thing about how a dog's brain works. Especially a dog that is a specific breed that is a little more aggressive than the average dog. Especially with those dogs. And so these people who establish this completely skewed relationship with their dog, they are beta dog owners. They are normally females because females or women, they just don't have it in them to establish boundaries with their dog. They let the dog walk all over them. They have no boundaries. They have no strategy for establishing the correct order in the dominance hierarchy, in the pack. They have no discipline. They just let the dog walk all over them. And they don't even realize it's sheer ignorance. Pure ignorance. It's not even malice. It's pure ignorance. And then there are people like me out walking, and then I get into a pickle because some idiot doesn't understand that they actually have a dangerous animal now on their hands. It won't touch you. It won't touch you. How the fuck do you know it won't touch me? Have you had the greatest biological breakthrough of the 21st century? Have you broken down the communication barrier between human and dog? Can you talk to your dog? Does your dog talk to you? In English or Japanese? It won't touch you. Coming from the utterly ignorant dog owner. They haven't a clue. And then all that happens then is the dog starts to get aggressive with me. I obviously now am in a bit of a pickle because I understand what's happening, so I'm trying to diffuse things, but the dog's getting very aggressive. And then what happens? The owner, normally a woman, she starts to panic. It's Rocky, come over here, Rocky. She starts to let the pitch of her voice go up. She sounds like she's anxious. She sounds like she's under threat from the perspective of the dog. And this makes it even worse. The dog thinks that the person now is all agitated and scared and fearful. And so the dog's sort of sensing that one of its pack members is in trouble. It's trying to protect them. The more anxious and fearful the owner becomes about a potential outcome, that only spurs the dog on even more to be more protective. I'm standing here in a pickle. Beta dog owners. They shouldn't have their dogs out in public. They are a public safety hazard, these people. And I'll reiterate, it's not the dog's fault. The dog has dog psychology. People should understand dog psychology if they're going to have a fucking dog. Especially a dog that is a bit more aggressive and is bigger and more muscular. And has a psychology that wants to ascend that dominance hierarchy of the pack. So beta dog owners, that's where my beef lies. Let me talk about alpha dog owners. And I hate to be sexist, but they're normally men. Alpha dog owners, what do? They do the right thing. They have their dog in its place. The dog knows its position in the pack. So with alpha dog owners, what they do is they establish boundaries. They let the dog know that I'm the boss in this relationship. I am at the top of the hierarchy. Me, the dog owner, I'm the alpha. And you, dog, if you put a fucking paw out of line, you're going to know about it. And so the dog obeys the alpha dog owners. Good. That's how it should be. Because the dog now looks at an alpha dog owner as the alpha. And so, if that dog puts a paw out of line, and the alpha dog owner, when I'm out walking, says, "Hi, get you back here," what happens? The dog listens. It halts its attack. It goes back to the owner, because the owner has established the right relationship with its dog. The owner is at the top of the dominance hierarchy in the pack. He is alpha. And more importantly, the dog knows he is alpha. Because you've got a whole bunch of these beta dog owners, dipshits. They think they're alpha. They think they're the owner. He won't touch you. Fat lot of you thinking you're the alpha when you aren't, through the eyes of the dog. It doesn't matter what the fuck you think. It only matters what the dog thinks. And with alpha dog owners, the dog knows its place in the pack. The dog knows that it is below the owner in the hierarchy of the pack. That is extremely important. It's extremely important that you have that dynamic with your dog. Because it means when you give an order to your dog, the dog listens. That's the point of being alpha. It's the same with being the CEO of a company. If you are the CEO and someone underneath you puts a foot out of line, you say to them, "Hi, Pete, you fucked up there. And you shouldn't have done that. I want you to do this next time." "Yes, sir," says Pete. Because Pete wants to keep his job. Pete is below the CEO in the hierarchy of the company. It's the same with your dog. If you own a dog, you should understand that your dog has pack psychology. It needs to know. The dog is constantly trying to figure out where it sits in the hierarchy of your relationship and in the broader relationship of the people in your life. The dog needs to know this. And if the dog is getting mixed signals, or the dog believes that it is at the top of the pack, we now have a problem. There's a problem now. Because that means you have no control over your dog. The dog controls you. Why do you think people lose control of their dogs? Why do you think this happens? And of course, it's a laugh, because the idiot beta dog owners, they blame the dog. "Oh, it's just the dog. I don't know what happened. He normally doesn't do that, and I don't know, it was something to do with him. Maybe I gave him the wrong biscuits this morning." You fucking tit. It's nothing to do with the wrong biscuits. And it's nothing to do with the dog waking up on the wrong side of the bed. It's to do with you. You, the owner. You've established a horrendous relationship with your dog. Now, I'm not saying you don't care for your dog. I'm saying the relationship, when it comes to the pack, is horrendous. You are below your own dog in the hierarchy of the pack. Meaning the dog sees itself as alpha. Which means you have no control over your dog. So that's the laugh. A whole bunch of owners, they'll blame the dog. "Oh, well, I just don't know what happened to him. He woke up on the wrong side of the bed." You are the problem. And the alpha dog owners, they intuitively know. That they need to, quote, put the dog in its place. The dog needs to know boundaries. Boundaries need to be set. This is why the problem is normally with women. Female dog owners. Women don't know how to set boundaries with their dogs. They're hugging them and they're kissing them and they invite them into their bed and they let them tramp all over them in the house. When the dog bitches and whines for food, it gets its food. There's no boundaries. The dog doesn't fear them because the dog thinks it's alpha. And it's normally women. Normally women. Every time. I can't think, actually. Now that I'm sifting through the archives of my mind, I can't think, honestly, of a confrontation that I've had with a male dog owner, with a man who owns a dog. I honestly can't. Because most men, they understand how to put the boundaries in place between them and their dog. And the dog then respects them. If you are a beta in the relationship with your dog, the dog doesn't, quote, respect you for your authority. The dog thinks it's the authority. So, that's why I say dog owners go into two categories. Beta dog owners and alpha dog owners. And my beef is with the beta dog owners for all the reasons that I've just outlined. Now, we've all that laid out. What are the lessons here? The lessons are very obvious, folks. There are sort of two. There's one very obvious lesson, and then there's a second lesson that mightn't be so obvious. Let's do the obvious lesson first. If you are a dog owner, please understand that your dog does not have human psychology. It's a dog, folks. It has dog psychology, which means it has pack psychology, which means you need to be very careful about the relationship that you are establishing with your dog, especially if it's a breed of dog that is more aggressive and has a greater propensity to want to climb the dominance hierarchy of a pack. You need to be very careful. You need to set the right boundaries, and you need to make the dog understand that you are alpha. You are alpha. So the dog has to know this. The dog has to know that you are above the dog in the hierarchy of the pack. And what you say goes. Whatever it is that you say, it goes. The dog will obey you. You need to be the master of the dog. Otherwise, you're going to have no control over your animal, which not only puts people like the Bandido here at risk, it puts your own fucking family at risk. Let's get a little bit more serious here. Why do you think dogs attack children and family members? Why do you think this is happening? It's not just random, folks. It's to do with the fact that the dog is getting mixed signals. It sort of thinks it's the alpha. It feels as if it's the alpha. And so it feels as if it's dictating the nature of the relationship and it's leading the pack. And sometimes, if a child pisses the dog off, or the dog interprets the child's behavior in a certain way, and the dog thinks it is alpha, it'll fucking attack the dog, or it'll attack the child and kill it. So let's realize, folks, it's not just Mr. Bandido who's at risk here, or the people out in public. It's your own friends and family. If you are establishing an absolute garbage, silly relationship with your dog, whereby you are below the dog in the hierarchy, you are putting the people that you care about at risk. And you need to know that. So that's a very clear, evident lesson here, folks, for the dog owners. Dogs can be a problem if the owner doesn't realize the nature of the psychology of a dog. And again, as I keep saying, the breed, if you've got an aggressive kind of dog or combative type of dog, you need to realize you need to be even more tuned into this. So that's the first obvious lesson for dog owners. You should be hearing this and reevaluating your relationship with your dog. Not just for public safety. Because obviously if your dog attacks someone, that person could sue you and get your dog put down. So not only does your dog die because it's attacked a member of the public, but you're going to get sued. Enjoy. So I'm sure you don't want that. And then, of course, there's the risk to your own friends and family, maybe your children. It's very important that this relationship is established whereby you are at the top of the hierarchy, at the top of the pack. You are the alpha. You do not want to be a beta dog owner. You want to be an alpha. So that's a very clear, evident lesson. That should be clear, given everything that we've just went through. Okay, what's the second lesson here, folks? And this second lesson is not so clear. It's not as evident. What we need to realize is, let's say we own dogs. Let's say you watching this stream. Let's say you own a dog. And let's say you are an alpha dog owner. So let's say you're an alpha dog owner. You have full control over your dog. Okay, fine. That's good. That's responsible on your behalf. But here's what we need to realize, folks. There are a lot of idiots in the world. And there are a lot of idiots in the world who have dogs. And there will be an enormous proportion of people here in your country, on the planet, who do not understand dog psychology. So you may understand it, and you may have your dog under control. That's good. But other people, folks, we can't control other people and the relationships that they generate between them and their dogs. We can't control that. That's an uncontrollable. So while you can control your relationship with your dog, you can't control other people's relationships with their dogs. Now, it's important that you realize this. There will be a whole bunch of dipshit dog owners, dipshit beta dog owners, walking around your town and city. And they don't have the foggiest notion about dog psychology. And these people will tell you, "It won't touch you. Rocky's really friendly." Idiots. They shouldn't have a dog out in public. But, as I've said, we cannot control other people and we can't control their relationships with their dogs. So what can we do? Well, you need to have a contingency in case some idiotic beta dog owner doesn't have control of their dog and their dog attacks you. You need to have a contingency. What do I mean by this? You need to have a way to defend yourself if someone's dog attacks you. And so, you should be taking precautions for the retarded nature of other people that live around you who own dogs. You see it out in the countryside, and you also see it in the town as well. People will carry sticks. People will carry weapons, effectively. Sticks that are thick and they're heavy, and maybe you might carry some other thing that could be used should a dog attack you. That's a second lesson. Maybe an umbrella. It could be something like an umbrella, a big stick, whatever. Walking stick, I don't care how you do it. You find a way to get yourself a contingency, because you might understand the nature of dog psychology, but other people might not. And they may lose control of their dog around you. And you don't want to be caught unprepared. So you need to have a contingency plan, which means you carry something that allows you to defend yourself against a dog attack. What do you want to do? Rule number 1, whatever your weapon of choice is, a walking stick, some big stick out of the forest, an umbrella, whatever it is, a hurling stick, if that's your thing, whatever your weapon of choice is, what you want to do is you want to create distance between you and the dog. That's why whatever your weapon of choice is, you want it to be able to create distance. So that when the dog comes at you, you can poke the dog. Don't swing. You're not out on the golf course swinging a golf club. You don't want to swing because the swing takes too long. And the dog, whenever you're in a confrontation with a dog and the adrenaline is pumping, you just mightn't have all of your coordination the way it should be under normal circumstances. You mightn't be just as coordinated as you think when the pressure's on. So don't be taking big swings like you're out driving on the golf range or the driver range. Get something that allows you to create distance between you and the dog. Don't swing. Jab. Imagine you have a spear. Jab the dog. Poke at it like this. Short movements. Keep the dog at distance. Buy yourself time, in other words. So if you are going to carry some sort of a weapon, make sure it's long in some way, because you want to be able to create distance. And when you're creating distance, the action that you should be taking, it should be a poking action, not a swinging action. What else should you do? Get side on. Okay? Don't expose your chest. Don't expose your vital organs. Get side on. Okay? So go like this and use a poking action. And swivel and pivot with the dog. Never turn your back on the dog. So get side on, face the dog, have your weapon of choice that creates distance, and use a poking motion. Keep the dog at bay. Anytime the dog lurches forward, you poke. Ideally, poke it in the nose if you can. The nose is sensitive. So get side on, keep your eye on the dog, have whatever long weapon you have, and poke. Buy yourself time. And then get out of there if you can. It goes without saying, if you can climb up a wall, if you can get over a fence, if you can get on top of a car, whatever. Get out of there if you can. But you mightn't have the ability to climb a wall, to climb a fence, or to get on top of a car. You may be in a circumstance like I've been, where I'm literally in a park and there are no trees nearby, and I'm kind of out in the open a little bit. And so you have no option but to sort of confront the dog. So that's your contingency. Because folks, we don't want to live we don't want to have an idealistic worldview. Yes, wouldn't it be great if all dog owners weren't retards? Wouldn't it be great if all dog owners were alpha dog owners and we had no beta dog owners? Yes, that would be marvelous, because I wouldn't have to think about this anymore when I go out to walk around. This is not the world we live in. That's an ideal world that you're thinking of. Unfortunately, there are retards that own dogs. And worse still, there are retards that own muscular, aggressive dogs. Unfortunately. And so you don't want to be caught unprepared. You want to make sure that you have a way to create distance between you and the attacking dog. You don't want to expose your vital organs. You want to get side on. You want to keep your eye on the dog. You want to have your weapon that creates distance, and you want to jab and poke at the dog. That's the best you can do. Don't swing. I'm going to keep repeating, because that's the first thing that people think. Oh, I'll load up here and I'll clock it on the head. Dogs are quick. They're a lot quicker than what you think. And when you're in the moment and flustered and under pressure, taking that big swing, it may not just go how you think it's going to go. Jab at the dog. Side on, protect the vital organs. Stay on your feet. Keep your eye on the dog. Create distance. That's your contingency. And I know it seems as if you might be saying, gosh, that's a very pessimistic worldview, Mr. Bandido. Thinking you're going to get attacked by a dog whenever you leave the house every day. Pay attention, folks. Raz Al Ghul, mind your surroundings. You should absolutely be prepared for a dog attack. You shouldn't be going around with your headphones on, doop-de-doo. You've got your headphones on, And you can't hear the dog running up behind you. And then all of a sudden, oh, what's wrong with my leg? And the dog's got your leg in its mouth. And you're going around like a retard with headphones on. And you couldn't perceive the dog coming. Of course you should be prepared. When you leave the house, you're heading out into the world. Of course you should be paying attention. Of course you should be thinking, what happens if a retard dog owner, who's a beta dog owner, who has no control over their dog, of course you should be thinking, if that person and their dog attacks you, what are you going to do? Of course you should have a plan in place. That's being a professional. That goes without saying. So absolutely, if you are listening to this and you are serious about your life, if you're serious about it, of course you're going to carry something. And I'm not saying you need to go and get a machete or a sword. Don't misunderstand me. Get a stick, get a good solid stick out of the forest that isn't going to break easily. Use a walking stick that your grandma or your grandpa used. Use that. Use a hurling stick. Use an umbrella. You've plenty of options. I'm sure there are other things that I haven't thought of. Innovative solutions, let's just say. Make sure that you're creating distance. Folks, this could be a very, I don't want to say life or death, but if you get attacked by a dog, you are in a pickle. And as I've said to you, 5 times, because I like to go out and walk. I like to go out into forest parks. I like to go out and do my exercise in nature. And of course, you have the dipshit dog owners out there too. And worse still, they don't have their dogs on a lead or a leash. Beta dog owners won't touch you. So of course I need a contingency. Of course I need to be prepared. And 5 times, I can at least recount 5 times, I had a really problematic circumstance one time. I didn't have my weapon of choice with me, let's just say. I decided to leave the house without it because I thought, I'll be fine. I'm sure I'll get away with it. And I was out in the forest. Not in the forest, I was out in a local park. And there were these outdoor exercise machines. And I was doing pull-ups. And this pit bull, the tail went straight. The pit bull saw me about 30 or 40 feet away. I was doing my pull-ups and I could see the pit bull looking at me and it went dead. It literally stopped dead. The tail went pointing up like an arrow and it was just staring straight at me. And the female dog owner who had her headphones in didn't even realize that this was happening. She was away on up ahead, on her phone, like a retard, with her headphones on. And her dog is behind her, staring me out, feeling aggressive. So what happens? I finish my pull-ups, I get down on the ground, and what happens? The dog charges at me. Charges at me. And so I see this and think, holy fuck, what am I going to do? I have no weapon, I'm out in the open, and so what do? I basically do a muscle up onto the top of the pull-up bar. And I'm up on top of the pull-up bar, and the dog is down below, snarling and sort of jumping up on 2 legs, on its 2 hind legs, trying to get at me, barking and snarling. And the dipshit owner, she's way off, not even paying attention. And then what happens? There was a dude who was down. He had nothing to do with any of this. He was just down the hill. And I'm sort of signaling to him saying, this dog's trying to attack me. Tell the owner. And so he runs up the hill to the owner. Taps her on the back. Your dog. Oh, whoops. Oh, come over here. He won't touch you. Holy fuck. She actually said that to me. Would you believe that? She told me, after me being on the top of this pull-up bar for about 60 seconds, and it's down on its hind legs. And if it could have climbed up, it would have climbed up and chomped the whole of me. She comes over. It's all right. He wouldn't touch you. Yeah, it won't touch you. Retard. So anyway, she gets her leash out, puts the dog on the leash. The dude who came up and saved my ass, he sort of sits with me then. She gets the dog on the leash, and then they piss off in among the trees. And so that was my lesson learned. Ever since that occasion, I have never left the house without some sort of thing that will allow me to create distance between me and the dog, and it allows me to defend myself. Never again, because that was a pickle for me. And so anyway, that would be the second lesson. You need to be prepared for the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario in this entire context is the dog attacks you. And if you are like me in that particular example, and you're sort of out in the open, and you have no weapon, you have no way to create distance, and you've got a big, muscular, aggressive dog. Only I had the ability, because I do exercise and I'm competent when it comes to pull-ups, I was able to literally muscle my way up onto the top of the bar and sit up there, out of harm's way. That was my only defense, because if I didn't have that pull-up bar, I was cooked, because I wasn't going to outrun this dog. It's way too quick. So I would have been now in some sort of a very awkward, dangerous circumstance. So yes, you should be preparing for the worst case scenario. Absolutely. And then of course, as I've already said, if you are a dog owner, then absolutely, you don't want to get sued. You don't want your dog to get put down, and also you don't want the dog, your own dog, to attack your friends or family. So if you're a dog owner, you have a very good reason to establish the correct relationship with your dog. And then second lesson, for those of us who understand dog psychology, basic dog psychology, we have to understand that there will always be retards among us. And we need to prepare for the moments of retardation. That's just the way life is. We can't control other people. We can't control the relationships that they generate between them and their dogs. So we have to take matters into our own hands. We need to be prepared for a worst case scenario. That means carrying something that is sturdy and creates distance. Taking the right posture, side on, protect the vital organs, keep your eye on the dog, poke and jab. And then, if it's possible, get on top of a car, get on top of a wall, get on top of a fence, climb something, get on top of a pull-up bar, if the opportunity arises, and get yourself to safety. All right. So I think that's my beef well explained. I don't hate dogs. It is not the fault of the dogs. The dogs have no fault here whatsoever. I like dogs. They can be a fantastic companion, and they can offer great protection to someone because they're very loyal. That's true. No problem with dogs. I have no problem with alpha dog owners. I actually really respect and admire people who take care of their dog in the right way. Alpha dog owners are doing their dog a huge service. They are keeping their dog out of trouble. So it's actually, I really admire and respect someone who has their dog's best interests at heart. Because if you are the alpha, that means you're able to control your dog, and that means you can keep your dog out of trouble. Which means you get to enjoy your dog for longer. My beef is with the dipshit beta dog owners. That's my beef. And I think that's pretty clear. And I think the reasons why I have that beef are pretty clear. There are important lessons to extract from this, folks, from different perspectives. So anyway, That's the splurge. I think it's time to head over to the live chat. See if I've pissed anyone off. Or maybe you agree. Who knows? Let's have a look and see. Maybe there'll be nobody in the live chat. We had a bagel yesterday. Let's have a look and see. I'll get this set up. Make sure that I have all the live chats in front of me if we have any. And it looks like we've got one live chat. We've been spurred the bagel. It's from Quiz22. Quiz22 is in the live chat. Let's see what Quizzed has to say. He says the following. Thought we were going to have some beef here as a dog owner, Bandido, but agree. Always thought in particular that larger dogs you should need a license/certificate for. Well, Quiz22, he owns a dog. And Quiz maybe thought that he was going to be pissed off with the Bandido's take on this. And I think Quiz actually raises a really good point here. For larger dogs, more muscular, stronger dogs, in particular that have a more aggressive psychology and that have a greater desire to ascend the pack hierarchy, I completely agree with Quizzed. Those breeds of dog, I do think you should need a license or certificate for them. I think that's reasonable because I actually see those dogs a little bit like carrying a weapon, like a gun. I think if you're going to carry a gun, I'm not saying that people shouldn't be armed, that you shouldn't be able to carry a gun or a weapon, or that you shouldn't be able to have a dog, but I think you should at least have to prove in some way that you know how to handle the weapon, that you are responsible, that you aren't a drug addict, that you aren't an alcoholic, that you aren't an idiot, a low IQ retard. I think that's all reasonable. If you were going to get a weapon like a gun, I think it's perfectly reasonable. You should be allowed to get one, but you should be the subject of some sort of assessment. In some way, it's the same with one of these big dogs. Because think of it like driving a car, folks. Again, this would be another analogy. People who haven't passed a driving test, are they legally allowed to get into a car? No, they are not. If you want to drive a car, you need to pass a driving test with a certified driving instructor from a certified public institution or body. Why? Because a car, if it's misused, is like a weapon. It's a hazard to other people. And so if we want to drive a car, we are then naturally subjected to an assessment. We have to be assessed. There's a certain age limit. You aren't allowed to drive if you're under 18. I actually think when it comes to driving, I think 18-year-olds shouldn't be allowed to drive. I think the driving age should be increased. That's just me personally. For these reasons, an 18-year-old is a dipshit. Most 18-year-olds are dipshits. They are a hazard. They don't have enough life experience. The car has been probably bought for them. They haven't even earned the car. Mummy and daddy has bought it for them. And they are reckless. And so what happens? At the bare minimum, if you want to be able to drive, you need to be assessed. You need to pass some sort of examination. In other words, what does this mean? You need to prove that you are capable to go out on the road and not cause an accident. You need to prove that you have the capabilities to actually drive the vehicle. Why? Because if you don't, you would be putting other people at risk, both in the car with you and other road users. Why is it any different with dogs? If you've got a big dog that, given its breed, it's also more likely to be aggressive, why are you just allowed to get this dog? With no check or balance. You could be a retard. You could be a better dog owner. Now you have a legitimate danger to the public and your own family and friends. You shouldn't be allowed it. So I agree with Quaized in a sense. I see having a large dog, especially a certain breed, and I know there's nuance here, folks. I understand that. And I'm open to the nuance. Not all dogs are created equally. I understand that. But if you've got a large dog, a big strong dog that's muscular and that's aggressive and that's bred to fight and that is bred for combat and that is bred to ascend the pack hierarchy, you should have to prove that you have the ability to actually control that animal. You should have to pass through some assessment that says, I understand dog psychology. I understand that I want to be the alpha in this relationship. This is no different to driving on the road. It's no different to acquiring a weapon. Should you be allowed to drive on the road? Yes, you should. But only if you're actually roadworthy. Should you be allowed to have a weapon? No problem. But if you're a drug addict and you're on psychiatric medication, then no, you shouldn't be allowed a weapon or a gun. Because you aren't capable of utilizing the weapon or actually being in full control of your mind so that you don't do something stupid with the weapon. So no, you shouldn't be allowed the weapon. It's the same with dogs. If you've got a big, aggressive, muscular, strong, hierarchy ascending dog in the pack that wants to be alpha, you should have to prove that you have the ability to control that animal and establish the correct relationship with that animal, given the size of the dog and the breed. I completely agree with Quaized. Because it's no different to driving on the road, it is no different to wanting to acquire a weapon. Of course, a car is extremely dangerous. A weapon can be extremely dangerous. A dog can be extremely dangerous. So I think that's a fair comment from Quaized. A really good comment, actually. That's insightful. I like that. Let me just check and see if there are any other live chats. Sometimes I've missed them. In the past I have. But that seems to be everything, folks. That's all of our live chats. And I think that draws our show to a close. Are you pissed off? Beta dog owners out there who have no control over their animal, are you pissed off? You should be. That irritation should lead to you taking some legitimate action now. If you are an alpha dog owner, congratulations to you. You have my respect and admiration. You're doing the right thing for your dog. That is truly having your dog's best interests at heart. By establishing that type of relationship and having those boundaries so that you are alpha and the dog sits below you in the pack. You have my respect, alpha dog owners. Beta dog owners, I hope I never see you out with your dog. Piss off. Don't come anywhere near me. Otherwise, your dog's going to get injured. If you catch what I'm saying. So don't put your dog in a situation where the Bandido is going to injure your dog. So anyway, that's the whole pile, folks. Again, if you enjoyed the stream, feel free to give us a like, a thumbs up. If you thought it was a crock of shit, give us a thumbs down. All feedback is welcome. Of course, if you are watching the live event after it has concluded, get down into the comments. Let me know what you thought about the show. And then finally, folks, if you like what we do here at Bandido Talks, subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. We are live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Irish time here on YouTube. Of course, we are live over on Rumble as well, Monday through to Thursday at 6 p.m. So the Bandido does his show here on YouTube at 4 p.m. Irish time, then he heads over to Rumble and does his show at 6 p.m. So if you want more live content from the Bandido, more US-based analysis, or analyses from US-based stories, then head over to Rumble. We talk more US politics, US stories over there. You can subscribe to Bandido Talks over on Rumble. Use the scrolling black banner below to find all of the necessary direction that you will need to get over to Rumble. Subscribe over on Rumble, Bandido Talks. Subscribe to Bandido Talks here on YouTube. You will be notified of all of our content that's coming your direction. We've lots coming your direction, folks. So anyway, that is a wrap for the week, folks. I'm going to be taking a break Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There will be no live show from Friday to Sunday. We will be back here on YouTube on Monday next week at 4 p.m. Irish time for some more Bandido Talks, some more novel natter on things that matter. But that will be next week. Feel free to join me over on Rumble now in about 50 minutes. We will be talking about the US-Iran potential war that is brewing. So if that's your cup of tea, head over to Rumble. We will have a wee bit of an analysis of what's happening politically between the US and Iran. That's over on Rumble. If you're not heading over to Rumble, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. Enjoy the incoming weekend. And all being well, I will see you next Monday, 4 p.m. Irish time here on YouTube. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks. And with that, it is over and out. This week on YouTube from the Bandido.